Warm intros would protect the status quo that exists today, which is wrong schools, wrong city, wrong background, you're invisible. And that's gatekeeping to me. I think that AI is building an infrastructure for systemic discovery. It's shifted search.
This is Revenue Remix, where we share founder stories, hard won lessons, and call out BS on anything that doesn't actually grow your business. I'm Summer Paletti, host and producer. Behind the mic, I'm a revenue growth architect for B2B SaaS and FinTech orgs, scaling without chaos. If your growth feels stuck, or if you're planning your next big thing, you're in the right place. And welcome back. I am your host, Summer Paletti, and today my guest is Kruti Baires, founder and CEO of the SprintFit, an intelligent matchmaker for early stage funding, bridging the data trust gap in investing with a human touch. She's based in Oakland, California. Welcome.
Thanks, Summer.
I'm so glad to have you on. So shout out to Women X AI. Kruti and I met in the comments section of a post. Just a little bit. If all you're doing is scrolling and liking, you're not taking advantage of that platform. Put in a comment and then take it off platform. That is really where the magic is. So then we chatted, and I knew I had to have her on here because her journey is so inspiring and it really speaks to some of the things that are important to me. And of course, it's all about growth, it's all about tech. So here we go. Let's get into it. You are a solo founder?
That's right.
Wow. That's a lot. Okay. Thank God for AI, right? Because we couldn't get it done without some tech tools. So I keep hearing about that AI is going to help produce the first solo unicorn. So I'm going to manifest and wish that for you.
Thank you.
So what was the first real break point where you realized that you didn't need permission, a lot of money, or a co-founder to build? I know what my break point was. What was your aha moment?
Also, first off, like I come from like 17 years of an operator background, having worked at Fortune 500s as well as high growth startups, where AI was actually like companies like Salesforce, where I worked at, where AI was not so, it was still not an open source. And so we were still building with AI, which was extremely exciting. But the true breaking point for me was when I actually last year happened to do a venture capital VC Labs fellowship. And as part of that fellowship, we were researching companies and researching startups. That's when I started leveraging AI about 2 years ago. And it was really, really exciting to see the summarization that would come through, the kind of data points that would come through. And like for me, that was sort of the breaking point where I realized if I can leverage AI to research companies, why not use it to build one? So that's
Leap.
sort of the breaking point for me, where like taking designs from Figma, design background, so love Figma there, and putting all of that into a tool called Lovable, which just literally helps you take all your products into prototyping and then taking that to Claude and prompt engineering. Like those were my 3 steps. With a really, really small and nimble engineering team, I've been able to build like 4 different versions of our product and test them out with our customers really quickly.
We do not have time to get into that today, but I feel like you should come on a panel to talk about that because you're the second co-founder who has told me like the iterations of the system, they're happening so much faster with AI. We'll talk about that. That's a conversation for another day. This is all about you. Good.
100%. No, I would say like the question just becomes in this AI time is like, it's not about can you code, right? It's about like, can you think clearly about the problem with AI?
Mm.
I think like that is sort of where the shift is, and that is sort of where like AI comes into play in more strategic ways than we would even imagine.
Because it can code so quickly and it doesn't need to sleep. I mean, I know programmers don't sleep that much anyway, but it doesn't need to sleep at all. And I guess you're right. Like, as long as you can articulate the problem to the coder can code while you're sleeping. It's wow. And then you're not waiting for if it's offshore
Yeah.
coders, you're waiting until the next window because they sleep at different times than you. There's none of those delays. It's completely wild.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you still need a small, nimble engineering team. Engineers are still extremely valuable, so I wouldn't take that 100% away. But I do think that the iteration windows have become a lot shorter in terms of how you develop products and how you put them out there and like test them out with your users. So definitely opportunities for solo founders there to get that.
Yeah. And opportunities perhaps to
Yeah,
get things faster, which kind
100%.
of leads me to the second thing I wanted to talk about. So, if a founder came to you, they're emerging, they're expanding their growth stage, and they're like, hey, we want an AI product and we want to go to market in 90 days. What pops to mind as like your first piece of advice to them?
Yeah, it's a great question. 90-day playbook is like perfect for me, right? Building an MVP in 90 days and like iterating, pushing it out. I would definitely think about like my first day 1 to day 30 is like talking to your first 20 customers, interviewing them, having those conversations. The conversation is about behavior and it's more about understanding like what are some things that they do today that they hate and that we can take away that pain.
Yes.
Essentially tapping into the pain points is still so valuable. Without that, I don't think that like you can really understand growth and growth strategies or put those strategies together. The other thing that does come to mind after your day 1, day 30 is like you think about building a I would say almost a non-sexy version of your product. It doesn't have to be perfect, right? It doesn't have to be polished. You just remove the pain. In our case, we're building an AI mentor that automates deal flow, effective and easy. But at the same time, it taps into two really critical pain points of two different types of users. And the last thing I'll add is like shipping with real customers. So once you've got some of these things going, ship it with a really small set of users, like 10 users even. And try to see without prompting them, like, are you really solving for their problem? If they don't come back, you're not solving for the right problem. That's for sure. And if you can't ship an AI MVP in 90 days, then you really don't understand the problem that you're solving for. So that's kind of where I would think about your 90-day steps.
So first of all, the fact that I've been in SaaS long enough, like the fact that we could talk about shipping anything other than a bug fix in 90 days is just wow. But I like that you started with the customer and their pain points because a lot of times I see people building something they think is cool. And the fact that AI can do it so quickly, I think makes it much more tempting to
Yeah.
chase a shiny object. Ooh, I have this idea. Let me build it and ship it. But what if your customers don't care about it? Yeah, you didn't waste a ton of time, but you wasted some time and you wasted some resources. There's still risk there. So yeah, always start with the customer. I love it. So let's shift and talk a little bit about early stage teams because I know you work with a lot of people that are fundraising. What patterns do you see in how founders misread product market fit? Actually, in AI.
Yeah, absolutely. So, like, I think that one of the metrics that we are really seeing as part of our insights from early founders, especially pre seed and seed startups, is founders confuse people feedback as like people are excited about their tool because they have a nuance, an AI, right? And like people will play with this AI, but at the end of it, like it's a trap, right? AI products can initially have attraction because there's nuance to the entire experience. People try them out. However, like in our case, for example, early on, investors would come on our platform and they would tell us, this is really cool. They would look at our reports that we're generating. Really, really valuable content and insights, even some of them even better than what OpenAI and Claude were providing. However, um, they wouldn't come back. And so the question for us would be, Are they going back to Gmail and spreadsheets? Is the question about AI accuracy? Is what is it? And so when we really dove into those problems, we really found that like it was about integrating with them and their workflows. So it was critical that we tapped into that versus just building another AI tool. And so
Mm.
how much of what really shifted for us at that point is like how much of the investor behavior are we truly able to change? Were we even able to bring them into our platform the second time? Right. And so product market fit to me is like if your users come in and say, whoa, this is amazing, but never come back, you don't have a product market fit. You actually have a demo.
Yes, yes, and by the way, you probably gave that demo too soon coming
Yeah.
from the sales leader in the room,
Yeah.
going down a rabbit hole, especially if it's new. People are curious and they wanna see it, and then you're like, "Oh my god, they saw it and they liked it." Yeah. Fallen into that trap before as well. Yeah, you nailed it. So looking at your own journey with the sprint bit, what was a moment, we all have it, where the data coming out of the product, maybe there was a conversation with an investor or somebody, and it forced you to change your own assumption or ICP focus?
Ooh, good one. I mean, we had a lot of moments, but I'll tap
Mhm.
into 2.
That
Um,
means you're normal.
I think we had, like, really 2 data points that I would say completely changed our ICP. One, when we talk about the founder side, we talk to a lot of Bay Area founders because 'cause I'm based in the Bay. Tons of investor access, tons of warm introductions. Through our AI mentor, they didn't wanna get scored or get feedback, and the feedback was, "We already have warm introductions, so we actually don't need a tool like that." So then we switched and we started talking to founders outside the Bay, unseen founders who don't actually have access, uh, investors. And they're hardworking, they're hungry for guidance, as well as they need capital. They need access, not just a warm introduction. And so this actually told us that our ICP for founders was with not with access, but the ones that without access is where our ICP is for the founder side, which was a pretty big shift for us, especially me as a founder being here in the Bay. It's so natural for me to be able to go to like hundreds of events and have so much excitement and the community is so strong. And so I think that was a shift for us from the founder side. Investor side was also very interesting. We were broadly targeting early stage VCs. What we realized very quickly was that we started getting inbound from PE professionals that were 2 or 3 person companies, accelerators, incubators, small family offices. Now, same problem, different reasons. And Cs had too much deal flow, whereas PEs had too little. And accelerators needed a systemic way to showcase their cohorts. And so that forced us to reposition from like AI that reduces noise to AI that expands access. That was a pretty significant shift.
Um, yeah, that's like night, day. I
Yeah.
mean, it's still the same product. We've spoken offline, so I can see where it still works. It's not like you had to go tear it down and start over again. But living outside of the Bay Area and having Bay Area FOMO all the time, I
Yeah.
could tell you that yes, there are so many founders that are suffering from just geographical bias, right? If you're not in Boston, New York, Austin, or the Bay Area, Phoenix,
Dallas.
you move or you get left behind.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, so I think like Summer, what we really learned there was like your ICP isn't who you think needs you, right? It's who actually shows up and pays.
Yes. By the way, that's going to go somewhere. I don't know. That is gold. Yes. Every founder suffers from that. Like, I built a thing I think is cool and I'm going to sell it to people I think need it. No,
Yeah.
not how it works. I kind of wish, but no.
Yeah, I definitely think so. Knowing your ICP is key, but it's also sometimes that you have to discover it. It's through those initial discoveries, it's through your conversations that you have with your potential customers is where you will uncover that ICP. And then that eventually leads to your product market fit because once you know it, you know that it takes off really quickly. Like for us, it was like a night and day shift of like how we were able to just onboard 50 customers all at once, all founders. And like that was really exciting to see that immediate shift of like hadn't changed messaging, we hadn't changed anything. It was just the shift of your target.
Well, and like, I think it's important to say that, like, so you're listening to signals. The
Yeah.
market will tell you how it perceives you, and the market will tell you who wants to buy from you. And if you're willing to listen, that's definitely valuable. I love that. That's an excellent lesson. So we're going to pause for a quick break. But stick around because when we come back, we are talking about the funding gap for women in tech and AI and the single biggest workflow failure that is causing investors to miss out on great deals.
If your growth feels stalled and your teams aren't rowing in the same direction, you're not broken. Your structure is. At Rise of Us, we help B2B SaaS and fintech orgs between 2 million and 30 million ARR turn fragmented sales, marketing, and customer success teams into one unified revenue engine. Go to theriseofus.com and book a chat to explore because your next phase of growth deserves a strategy that won't buckle under the pressure.
Welcome back, everyone. All right, let's get right back into it. So you see the investor side of the table clearly. What is the single biggest workflow failure that you see in how investors manage deal flow today that makes them miss out on great opportunities or misjudge?
Ooh, yeah. This is a spicy one, Summer. You're bringing
You're
some.
going to come on my show and be sassy. I'm not sorry.
So I'll definitely say that whether it's single, whether it's an angel VC, emerging VC, or a large venture capital firm, intake is where the biggest bottlenecks are. It's still being triaged as like or emails, right? Even emails can be one of your ways of intake. Intakes can come from anywhere, right? It could be LinkedIn, it could be inbox, it could be your own type forms that are on your website.
Well, and it
But
comes from a lot of directions if
it
you're an
comes from
investor.
it comes from a lot of directions, and that is a manual process that hasn't been tapped into yet. It needs a lot of intelligence in terms of not only gathering it, but it also needs so think about this, right? A day in a VC, a deck arrives with 50 others. An associate skims for like 3 minutes, says this isn't a fit for us, and brushes it away. The founder actually has real traction, early traction, but real traction. They have some signals. And the challenge is that their data is scattered, which is why it wasn't discoverable. Now, 3 months later, a competitor comes and funds that startup. I would say the failure isn't the associate, it's the lack of structure, right? Investors today spend about K plus on PitchBook for their later stage data. But really, for all the early stage pre-seed data, it's still Gmail, it's still Google Sheets, it's still signals lost. So I would say automating intake that
Mhm,
structures founder data before
mhm,
a human reviews it,
mhm.
that's the shift. And the best investors who adopt this type of a workflow will definitely not miss that many deals.
Hmm. So it's funny because sometimes I put the onus on the founder because founders, I'm sorry, we're getting sassy. Founders are guilty as well. Having a deck that doesn't speak to what investors care about, spray and pray, message spam everywhere. So I could see where investors, they're getting a lot of stuff that they're like, it's crap. And you have to filter through and you have just a few seconds to decide if it's crap or not. Yeah, There's a volume problem, and workflows and automations and tools definitely help with that. I could see that.
Yeah, it's really hard. And like one of our family offices that we spoke to definitely called it like a Frankenstein workflow. They're like, we have so many different tools that we use today, but they all work in their own individual ways, but there's no one place where we can actually consolidate them.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. And then you mentioned family office and like 2 to 3 person teams. I'm gonna guess that it's worse for them.
Definitely. Definitely worse for them for sure. I would say that like I think it's more about the infrastructure. This is why we call it the intake, the most manual part of the workflow, where we too who do have tools that are doing the pre-diligence and there's intelligence there. We're doing the sourcing and there's intelligence in there, there's automation there. But I think that this is the one infrastructure part of their workflow, which still kind of remains pretty manual, even though we have CRMs that kind of take that data, but it's still, you still have to parse through that data.
Yeah. Yeah. And they don't have the big team to throw more people at it
Exactly.
because there's a resource difference.
Challenges. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. And then they're not gonna be able to buy the big data management system or whatever.
Yeah.
But then I also think, and I'm going way off topic here, but I can't help it. I'm also think like it's leading into what we both care about, so I'm probably getting ahead of myself, but like the family office, the small firms, they're more likely to take bets on underrepresented founders, and they might be exited underrepresented founders themselves. They want to give back and help, but they don't have these huge resources. I see
Definitely.
it.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a huge problem, Summer. And yeah, we've had a lot of investors talk through that process as well as like it's evident it causes manual inefficiencies. It causes 4.2 billion dollar inefficiencies with those stats.
That's a
Yeah.
not good stat. Wow. So it feels a little ripe for some level of disruption. Let's talk about another bad stat. I don't know specifically the stat for funding gaps with women in tech and women in AI. All I know is that woman only teams get 2% of funding. And if they add a male co founder, they get 17%. And it's even worse for women of color. So we can assume that AI follows the same stats. I think it's new enough to where we don't have a singled out stat. So how have these dynamics shown up in your own fundraising and deal conversations? And what should investors be doing differently if they genuinely want better products?
Yeah, the funding gap is real, Summer, and this shows up in our data all the time. So there's still this assumption that, as you called out, right? Women and non-technical founders can't build scalable companies. This is still a stat, and it's not just a stat, it's reality. You'll get this in your conversations. People will question it. While as I mentioned earlier, I've shipped 4 versions as a solo founder, bootstrapped within a year. So here's what our SprintFit data talks about. It says women led teams show sharper problem reframing. Unseen founders show cleaner capital efficiencies. And stealth operators score surprisingly high on market depth alignment. So the funding gap isn't about representation or gender. It's costing investors better products. That's truly what the problem is. The problem is about pattern matching, right? VCs keep looking for last AI winners, not the best builder. So I think to me, if I were to say something about the change and what should change, it should be what should be asked in interviews or in these conversations is like about user behavior and not a model architecture.
Hmm.
How are we actually shifting the needle
Mhm.
from from that point? Fund domain expertise and not just a Google, Meta, or a Stanford engineer, right? It's actually thinking about the domain expertise that a founder actually has.
Mm-hmm.
And then the last one I'll add is like, and auditing an investor's own data, right? Like, if none of your last AI investments include women or unseen founders,
Mm.
you're missing signals and leaving money on the table.
Yes, I love the audit the data. There's somebody that I know that you need to meet because, and she's in California too, and her whole deal is auditing the data. So I'll connect you guys. So if anybody's listening, it's not just a kumbaya, do your good deed for the day to fund an underrepresented or a female founder. There's data that shows that they outperform some of the standard teams that get all the money. So we've identified the problem. What are you doing to solve the problem? Because all I do is complain about it.
Yeah. Well, so okay, I'll share with you. So it's not a secret. Obviously, we're not in stealth, so definitely able to like share. We're building an intelligent investment layer that's primarily focused on early stage funding. We're bridging the gap between data and trust with a human layer. It's more about mentoring the founders, getting them ready with their data. So we talked about the standard data,
Mm-hmm.
bring that story closer. Some oftentimes what we also see is like you may be working with an advisor. However, if you don't really know and understand the problems that you are facing as an early stage startup, you may be not even able to find an advisor that can actually advise you. So what our product does is it uncovers those challenges, it uncovers insights for you, and it helps you get funding ready. That way, not only are you able to talk to operators, advisors, also obviously investors eventually to raise funds, but it gets you to the point to understand your own product and your own customers while also instantly matching you with patterns with investors that match your own criterias. Because oftentimes early stage founders don't understand that like taking a check from anyone and everyone isn't going to quite benefit their product.
No. And I can tell you, I have a failed fintech startup. I exited because just no. I took money from whoever would give me money because I knew the stats, and it was a bloody disaster. It was terrible. Many lessons learned.
So we're basically pitch book for early stage founders and investors, right?
Nice.
We're helping you understand not just we're not only helping investors and founders find each other, but
Mm,
validate each other. I think like
mhm,
that's all happening in one place, where some of our competitors are solving for one or the other part of the ecosystem, whereas we're solving for the entire ecosystem. So our mission at SprintFit is to fix fragmentation in early stage investing. That's kind of what we're after. And from the investor side, we're automating their deal flow and helping them discover as well as screen early stage startups. So this also solves for when you're automating that deal flow, we're able to solve for that manual $4.2 billion inefficiency that we talked about, while yet things don't go amiss and you're not missing out on critical deals that you should actually be betting on.
mhm. Well, and as much as I liked, I'm gonna be nice here, as much as I like to complain about investors not seeing beyond the s the standard cast of characters, it's hard. There's a lot of people out there, there's a lot of opportunities, and it is so tempting to just default to what you know. If there's too much noise and there's too much out there, you're going to be like, oh my God, I can't. You know what? Hey, that guy, I know that guy. I'm going to fund him. I get it. The matchmaking makes sense. So when you imagine the next 3 years, that is a year,
Yeah.
imagine the next little bit of the next year of AI in B2B, especially around investing and founder and transparency. What is a belief that you hold that most people in the world still think is wrong?
Well, you know, Warm intros. Warm.
No, I'm gonna fight you on that. Go ahead.
So warm intros will become, I'm not saying that it will be less important, but I would say that like AI will assist these warm intros in a very different way. Everyone says that like, deals happen through relationships, warm intros build trust, and I know that that will never change, right? But I think that's outdated. With AI being here, I would say warm intros would protect the status quo that exists today, which is wrong schools, wrong city, wrong background, you're invisible, and that's gatekeeping to me. I think that AI is building an infrastructure for systemic discovery. It's shifted search. Like it's broken records on that. And I would say like in a year, the best investors will both rely on warm intros for validation and AI for discovery because what we're building is more human when we talk about AI mentors structuring your story and then investors getting discovery based on not just merit and access, but it's they're building that human trust once you're already validated. So what I think that like AI is shifting is it's shifting early stage investing, which needs trust building on data first, not just a warm introduction. Because that warm introduction for an early stage startup could literally just land into nothing because they may not have a structured story to tell, even if they had a warm introduction. And so I'll just leave it at that.
As somebody who's big on partner-led growth, I was ready. But you're not wrong, okay? I'm a contractor's daughter. I didn't go to the right school. I don't live in the Bay Area, so I totally get it. And by the way, I'm not a boy, right? Hello. I forgot that one major thing. Okay, so I'm thinking through that. It's yeah, I can see that. I'm already using AI for intros in my own networking, and I do find it easier, cuts through like networking is hard. And I work in sales. Networking is hard. It sucks. So it's an AI enabled warm intro.
I don't know. So I think like I see the challenge, right? Like I see that technology and human to human conversations are really critical. But I also think that like when you do end up giving somebody a quick nudge that, hey, this is a potential match, right? Kruti and Summer are a potential match. Here's why. And when we get the why, there's opportunity for us both to engage and initiate those human contacts and connections because it's relevant information to me and it's relevant information to you. This is how our real world also works, where you may introduce me to someone, but if that other opposite person doesn't quite find that Kruti is interesting, then that's not going to connect.
That is too funny. There's always that human layer. It's okay. We're not obsolete yet.
We not. And I don't think that, so I think like to really, really hone this in, like I think that when we do talk about early stage investing and the funding gaps, I think what it really needs is an ethical AI layer. And this is truly what we're after. While everybody's building their own unicorns and shiny pieces, we want to dive into the deeper problems of the crack because if we give visibility to more founders, there will be more opportunity for people to go from pre-seed to seed and from seed to
Mm,
Series A. But looking at our market today, how many companies are actually going from seed to Series A? Majority are failing and almost closing companies right now.
there's a big die off there. And you had me at ethics. That's wonderful. So since we talked about the user being maybe part of the problem with an AI tool, let's talk about if someone listening, they want to start experimenting with AI in their business, like they're the one person who doesn't have it yet, or there's plenty of people outside of the LinkedIn hype bubble that know that they should, but they don't know what to do. So what can they do? Not just learn more, but like what is a small but concrete thing that they can do today that will actually move the needle?
Yeah, excellent question there. I think that like taking one really annoying part of a functionality or a task that
Mm,
you're trying to do on your own, give that to an AI to do.
mhm.
I
Yeah.
would say something as simple as like organizing your notes or like summarizing calls, researching something, for example. I would say it's not so much about asking the AI for summaries, but it's more so about finding patterns. So what patterns are you see what do you see is missing in your own investigation is what you would ask the AI. An example of that is like a personal example that happened this past Thanksgiving was looking for cars and it was a tedious task. So what I
Oh,
ended
yeah.
up doing was asked AI to provide me hybrid and electric options with pricing, mileage, costing, incentives, who's giving the lowest APRs right now.
Yes.
Literally, it was able to not only look for patterns, it was giving me the cheapest options, but it was also giving me the most cost-effective value for my particular use case right now. So, won't go into too much details. Tesla came up, but
Please tell me you did not buy a Cybertruck only because they're hideous.
they're hideous, that's for sure. But I think you see the value that in your smallest task, like it saved me and my husband like hours and hours of research, like where we were actually able to be like, okay, we have narrowed down 4 options for ourselves versus spending weeks on just going and like doing test drives. Now we only had to test 4 test drives. That was significantly half the time that we would have actually spent on buying an urgent car that we needed.
Yeah, well, and then if you think I haven't bought a car for almost 7 years. I bought a Toyota, they last forever.
Ever.
I spent, like, months on Google.
Yeah. Yeah. I
I
think
like
like
that, and that's not
exactly.
fun.
It's not fun. No, it's not fun. So I think patterns is what you need to look for versus how currently AIs are being used as generating summaries. And I think that like being more smart in our prompting can definitely uncover a lot of insights is how I've noticed it. Like especially like something fun that we always do is like I love as a researcher in my prior career, I love doing theming and clustering feedback from users and like uncovering insights and like
I'll read that.
right. And so it's such a joyful task for me. It's not tedious. However, products like Miro have made that task so easy where you dump all your content in there and it's helping you generate those insights. And so I feel like these are small little tasks that you can pick up where it's not quite shifting your actual workflow, but it is actually shifting your pattern of saving you a little bit extra time that you could have saved and done something different.
Yeah, I like basically what you're saying is don't think about what can I do with AI. Think about something that's broken or messy or that you hate doing, and then see if an AI can help. I keep reminding people that it is a transformative technology like we've never seen before. It's still just tech. We have been living with tech for decades, and you find a tech to automate a thing you hate. That's what AI can do. Simple.
Absolutely.
Okay, so that was enough about work. What is something that you do just for fun?
I love doing hands-on arts and crafts. There's always something that makes me feel really grounded and like a lot of playful like activities to do. Other than that, like I feel like meditations and silent retreats have been more of a natural path, especially with like health rituals, which are just non-negotiable for me right now. After like a burnout in corporate and as a founder, I truly protect my health and my teams at all costs. So founders build better companies when they're not burning on fumes. So create some time for play is what I would say. It always helps me. Even a simple walk or reading a book, taking time away from technology is really something that I Look for on weekends. I don't get into hackathons or vibe coding. I do
No.
enough of that throughout the week.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. And you brought up a good point for an early stage founder. You do not have to. You should not be working all the time. It's not healthy. It's not good long term. It's a recipe for disaster.
It 100% is, and, like, it's easy. It's easy to fall into that pattern because you're running that race, and it actually shouldn't be that race.
No.
I
Yeah,
think that
burnout is not a badge of honor. You don't get a trophy for that.
definitely.
You get a trip to the hospital. Okay. Well, we're going to wrap it up, Kruti. Thank you for joining me. And I am going to link you in the show notes so that people can find you and follow you. For those of you joining from the gym or the car, remember to subscribe on your favorite podcast platform and tune in for more interviews and insights. I appreciate the listen, and I will see you all next week.
Thank you.